All right. Hey, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, we are back taking a look at the tropics. Tonight is Wednesday, September 22nd, 2021. This is your evening tropical update. Well, across the basin this evening, we have three active storms, two not long for this world, but one that we'll be watching for several days to come. In no particular order, we have Tropical Depression Peter, which is this mass of clouds here. We have Tropical Depression Rose, which is actually this little swirl here. The thunderstorms are nowhere near it. And then we have Tropical Depression 18, newly minted by the National Hurricane Center. Well, these two systems here are nothing to worry about. They are weak tropical depressions, and they are both forecast to die off. Peter expected to dissipate probably by 11 p.m. tonight. The Hurricane Center will write their last advisory on it. Rose may hang on until tomorrow, but neither of these systems are impressive at all, and they are of absolutely no threat, no impact to the eastern U.S., so we're not going to spend any more time on them. What is of some concern is Tropical Depression 18, again down here in the central tropical Atlantic. And we also have another area to watch. We have the remnants of Odette that are still spinning out there near the Azores. These could develop still in the next couple of days. It's over some warmer water, and some upper level winds are going to come in later towards the weekend. So, maybe still as a name, probably not very likely. So 18 and what will future be or be in the future Sam is what we're going to be watching this evening. So let's go ahead and get to the first tropical forecast discussion for Sam as of 5 p.m. from the National Hurricane Center. Maximum stand winds 35 miles an hour and movement is to the west at 15 miles an hour. So first things first on this forecast graphic, I just want to make sure we're kind of getting the big picture here. This is a 5-day forecast, as all NHC forecasts are. And the system is only expected to be somewhere to the east of the Lesser Antilles within 5 days. Okay, it's very far away. There is a huge distance for this thing to go before it gets anywhere near the eastern U.S. And it's not moving that fast. It's only moving about 15 miles an hour, which is a little bit faster than maybe it looked, but it's not as fast as it really should be for this time of year in this region. So we're not going to really dig super deep into the storm tonight because there's not a lot of reason for it. It is so far away. I mean, we're talking like more than a week away. Like any impact, if it happened to impact somewhere in the eastern U.S., which is very questionable still, very debatable still, we're talking, the 10-day window. And forecasting that far out, I don't care who thinks as good as they are aren't at this, you don't really have any idea outside of like 7 to 10 days. I mean, that's just you got some educated ideas of what the pattern may look like, but there is definitely no skill in forecasting that far out. It's just an educated crapshoot. That's why we don't go past 5 days officially, and then 7 to 8 days is really getting into muddy territory. But we'll kind of kick around the latest on it. So the first things really jumps out is the Hurricane Center's intensity estimate. Excuse me, intensity estimates do take this up to a 115 mile an hour major hurricane the end of the forecast period. So by next week, this may be a Category 3 hurricane out here in the tropical Atlantic. The overall conditions are pretty favorable. This is the upper level winds for Sam by next week, but really for the next several days, you can see Sam through the weekend here is going to be riding along in a pretty low wind shear environment. The only winds you see here are from the upper level outflow from Sam, and it looks like this thing's going to be in pretty good conditions as far as wind shear goes. This is less than 10 knots of wind shear for the most part, and it will be riding through some pretty warm 28, 29 degrees Celsius waters, which is the mid 80s in terms of Fahrenheit. That is pretty good water temperatures for a storm to develop and increase. So we'll likely see Sam intensify, possibly rapidly, but if not rapidly, at least at a steady clip for the several days to come, and it could be a major hurricane by early next week. As far as intensity goes, or as far as track goes, we have a pretty good idea of how this is going to wind up. We'll back our GFS and European up real quick to kind of show you the different outlooks. But both models in the low levels, Avram to millibar vorticity, just kind of showing you where the whole storm might be. It is going to generally just move off to the west and eventually more to the northwest for a couple days, and the European brings this. We'll go ahead and set this for Wednesday of next week. So we're 7 full days from where we're talking right now, essentially. And we're basically just about 7 days out if we go to 12Z on Wednesday. Now, notice one of the things is we notice is the GFS has been trending much further north and kind of east with the storm, like hooking earlier, where the European model is actually a lot closer. Notice how close this gets to the northern Antilles, Virgin Islands, etc. So you can kind of see the back and forth here between the Euro and GFS at the same time next week. European is leaning a little bit more to the south. Now, from there, it's going to depend on the overall weather pattern. This is the ensemble, so the GFS and the Euro, these are the only two models that really go out this far to kind of show you. The GFS continues to be confident in a turn before the before the Caribbean islands for the most part. One or two ensembles do graze the northern Virgin Islands and whatnot, and then turns north. But you can see every ensemble member for the GFS tonight. One has the storm strong into hurricane intensity. Two has it turning well off to the east of say 70 west, which is kind of about where Hispaniola and the Bahamas are in that range, and it has it turning well east of that. European's a little bit different. European has some ensemble members that do want to go more to the west, and these ensembles are just this model ran over and over with little changes of the dials to kind of see what other possibilities there may be. If you change some little settings, you still get the same answer, then it's like, okay, this is exactly what's probably going to happen. Whereas, this is showing you the range of possibilities. It's not really meant to be used as a forecast tool. It's just kind of showing you possible outcomes. And really what it shows is that pretty much everything's on the table. Some European members go pretty far south. In a weaker storm, you'll notice is the lighter colors here, your yellows and greens are weaker. They stay on the south and west side of this forecast track possibility kind of spread, and the stronger members, these pinks and whatnot, these real into hurricane intensity, do curve it earlier. And one of the general principles of this is going to be the stronger the storm is, the more likely it wants to curve. It's not a guarantee, but it does help making it want to curve. Stronger hurricanes typically want to hook harder and turn more, whereas weaker storms generally like to drift more, if that makes sense. So we'll see this thing that will play a part. And right now, the early intensity jump of a major hurricane does bode well for the early turn. What we're hoping for, but it's not set in stone. I can show you the GFS and Euro where they kind of see the weather pattern next week. So again, we're in our time machine. We're about 9 days or 8 days really from today, and this is the European or GFS model. The general thought is there's going to be a pretty strong ridge over the eastern U.S. and there's going to be a trough on either side of that. So there's going to be this general weakness off the coast of the eastern U.S., which does play well, and again, into a hook. Now, there's some things that may muddy that up. Again, if this ridge over here is a little stronger and pushes the storm a little bit further over, say here or something, there's some issues with that. But the GFS is still having a hard time locking into what the pattern may look like. I'm taking you back through other models that have ran, earlier this morning and yesterday, and kind of showing you that, all these potential solutions. The GFS is all over the place. This is the same time on the model, but it's different guesses, and you can see that it keeps guessing pretty wild, and that's just what happens this time of year in the transition season. So, um, it's not really worth digging into too much. General thought is there's going to be some big ridge over the eastern U.S. There's going to be a trough, and then there's going to be possibly some kind of cutoff low over the Bahamas and Florida. These could all play a part. This could definitely pinwheel the storm away into the trough, and if there's a lot of ridging over this too, it could kind of pinwheel it around and bring it towards the east coast for a period, and then turn it out to sea. It all kind of depends how this sets up. So bottom line is, yes, Sam could be an issue for the eastern U.S. It's not guaranteed it's going to recurve, but it also things generally look like it's going to recurve right now, but we are very far away from that point actually happening. So the bottom line is we'll keep watching this week. Well, I'll keep showing you the models and whatnot, but it's going to be enjoy your week, enjoy your weekend, and then, we'll be paying attention next week, but there could be something out there towards the beginning of next week that may be more concerning. If it's trending south and trending west, then we may have something to talk about. We may have something to deal with. But right now, it's just too early to know much more than that. But we do have a new name storm on deck. The 18th of the season will be Sam. We have 3 names to go before we're exhausting our name list and going to the alternate naming list, not the Greek alphabet. We're not doing that anymore because it was such a debacle last year. So we will keep an eye on it in the rest of the tropics, but nothing else imminently threatens. And it looks like we're going to have to get in October before the Caribbean season kind of ramps up. We'll be looking to this part of the world for our storms, not so much the Central Atlantic. This is going to shut down pretty soon. Sam may be the last one to get across before this kind of cuts off. So we'll keep an eye on it all. But tonight, nothing to worry about, just something to watch for the next several days. So until then, as always, thanks for watching. Have a good one.